Hello everyone! In this video, I'll share some essential details and tips you need to know to win in battle. In Blade & Soul Heroes, every monster has a weakness to an elemental type. For example, in solo boss trials, Block is typeless but has weakness to 4 different elemental types. Each time you land the skill of the matching elemental type, the monster's weakness gauge will fill. Once the gauge is full, the monster becomes weakened. A weakened monster takes more damage and deals less, making it much easier to defeat. So when you're up against powerful monsters, identify their weaknesses first, then build your team with heroes of that elemental type. Combo Effect is an additional effect that triggers when certain conditions are met. You can check the activation conditions in the skill descriptions, just like you see here. For example, Yusol's combo effect, Hoyan's Gust, only triggers if you hit with an elemental effect first, then use her skill. If Hongbi, as a teammate, lands Burn on the monster, you'll see the combo indicator appear. It's easy to spot, right? When Yusol uses her skill at this point, her combo effect activates, dealing more damage and applying Frost. Combo effects work under the same conditions in team battles, so be sure to keep them in mind when setting up your team. In Blade & Soul Heroes, the leader hero is just as important as your team composition. Each leader hero has unique skills called leader passives, which activate under certain conditions. For example, when you place Yusol as your leader hero and use her sacred skill, you can activate her leader passive, Frostbloom Blade Slash. This boosts the team's attack power for a short time and restricts enemy actions, giving you a huge advantage in battle. Since each leader passive have different conditions and effects, make sure to consider these when choosing your leader hero. In battle, you'll often come across the terms Power Strike and Critical Hit. Critical Hit is something you may be already familiar with. Your critical hit rate increases the chance of landing a critical hit, while your critical damage stat boosts the impact when it happens. When your hero deals critical damage to your opponent, you'll see the damage numbers turn red, so it's easy to spot right away. Critical hits are not limited to basic attacks, they also apply to skills. This makes stats related to critical hit essential, so try experimenting with builds that maximize its effectiveness. Power Strike is a stat similar to Critical Hit, but with some differences. Like Critical Hit, it deals greater damage when triggered. However, Power Strike does not apply to skills. It only triggers on basic attacks, and its activation rate is independent of the critical hit rate. When activated, it restores focus, and the basic attack motions changes with a Power Strike indicator, making it easy to recognize. It works particularly well with heroes that have fast attack speed or with builds focused on basic attacks, so keep them in mind when forming your team. In Blade & Soul Heroes, monsters come in different ranks. Apex monsters, in particular, are very powerful and have challenging attack patterns. Using battle aids to enhance your combat abilities is a great way to take them down more effectively. Note that items like beef jerky and super hearty soup only apply their effects when fighting Apex monsters. Apex monsters are marked with blue, purple, or yellow portraits. In the field, some monsters launch attacks marked by a white area indicator. When that happens, using a joint attack can block their attack. A joint attack is a special skill triggered by linking the power of your heroes. As heroes use skills in succession, the joint attack gauge builds up. Once ready, you can activate it with the button, and the more it stacks, the greater the damage. Some enemy skills require multiple joint attacks to block, so use them wisely. In battle, attacking is important, but knowing how to avoid damage is just as crucial. As shown here, red area attacks marked unable to block cannot be defended against under any conditions. But if you dash at the exact moment the attack lands, a parry will trigger. A successful parry greatly reduces damage and grants extra effects. Depending on the situation, standing your ground may sometimes be the better choice. In the options menu, you can adjust how dash is activated. Set it to match your playstyle to trigger parries more reliably and gain the upper hand in battle. Unite your heroes. Remember today's battle basics and key tips, and you'll be ready to jump into the fight.